Hi, my name is Turki Gazzaz. This is Abdulrahman Gazzaz, my brother.
Hi.
We are the founders of Bricklab, an architecture and design studio based in Jeddah. Established in 2015, Bricklab is dedicated to the examination of design discipline as it intersects with the social, political, economic, and cultural networks that implicitly form our built environment. By constantly focusing on design on users' experience, those significant intersections begin to reveal the role of design in our broader cultural development. At Bricklab, site, object, and users are understood as dynamic elements that shape our physical world. We may begin to fill the gaps between graphics, product design, interiors, architecture, and understand these different disciplines as articulations of human thoughts and desires. Our diverse background in architecture, planning, history, and theory frames our attitude towards practice. As such, we focus on developing a particular research question with every project to allow us to make meaningful contributions for any given socio-political and economic context. At Bricklab, we really try to better understand the built environment through some of our research projects. And the main protagonist for our research in the past few years has been Jeddah, the city that we are based in. We've been very interested in the modern development of the city and the rapid modernization process that occurred in the middle of the past century. Through archival photography and through research on the different components that make up our built environment, we really try to understand the city and create discourse around that period and contemporary architecture.
I think these really culminate in two projects that we're showing you today, or actually three. A project that we worked on called Saudi Modern, another one which really looks at Jeddah, taking up a building and developing it into an exhibition space, and that kind of becomes a notion of how do we rethink our spaces and rethink our cities. Another project is Rawda, which looks at a specific district, which is where we work and where we thrive and where we also live at some point in our lives. These all become kind of a research base for where we started looking at these things. And even in some of the imagery, you see our cinema installation, which was in Lisbon, part of the MAP Museum, where it also questioned cinema. So we look at buildings, we archive, we do these things, but then I think in a way we have this theoretical approach, but also have this practical approach of our use of silicone. In the backdrop, you can see 1,101 objects. It's an exhibition that we did in between. It was developed in Jeddah. All of these 1,000 objects were collected in Jeddah, where silicone molds were made, and it becomes a question about dematerializing things. The images of the food that you see here are kind of questions of how does this very petrochemical-based material that influenced, petrol influenced how our city has vastly expanded and got modernized. So if we boiled it down to this material and formed research questions about how to dematerialize, let's say, a biodegradable object like food. This is a research project that we're doing for Art Jameel as part of their food exhibition. So we looked at Indonesian food and how that became part of the trade routes, the spices and everything that really even formulated the way that we think and approach things. So it's really about textures, taking an object, creating a mold, and then creating a cast in various colors and textures that express what this was and what this can be. And I think this really kind of resonates with how we look at Jeddah. Jeddah is split between the ocean and land. And I think, Turki, if you want to elaborate on that, I think it's something we can figure.
I think in general, Jeddah, it's, just to give you a bit of a background, it is a port city. It's over 1,000 years old. for hundreds of years, its main role was to welcome pilgrims to visit the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. As a port city, its relationship with the sea has been one of its key defining features. And you can, some of the images you see here are some of the SR taken in the 1950s, in that early modern period, where the structure of the city really started to take shape. Just a quick story is to understand that for centuries, the city was really a small walled city that spiraled almost 50 times its size in the span of 50 years. And what ended up happening there is that with this rapid pace of development, the city's infrastructure really lagged behind, and planning became very randomized as development outpaced the planned development of the city. You can see on the right is a map of the master plan of the city with the proposed waterfront project as a public space serving the entire city. These images show this waterfront as it looks like today, a vibrant public space. But in reality, this was all reclaimed land because private development really made its way all the way to the water's edge. And what happened in the 1970s is that the city's mayor, Mohammed Saeed Farsi, worked on this pioneering project to reclaim large tracts of land right on the waterfront to give it back to the public.
So it became, in the context of this exhibition of crossroads and our interest in above and below, we really started questioning how do we inhabit our city? How can we express Jeddah within this crossroads of socio-political issues, urban fabrics, types of architecture, archiving, all of these things really resonates with the approach of the sole biennial of architecture and urbanism. And I think it really resonated with the rest of the research that we've been doing for the past few years now. For us, we started questioning our city. We started looking at things above and below and around us, everywhere around the city. We go on. We drive around the city almost every week, myself and Turkey, and sometimes our colleagues from Bricklab, and really look at textures and meanings behind these spaces. In these images, you see an areas of Barwes, you see Al-Bangala, which is the fish market, you see Al-Jafali Mosque, where historically they used to behead people and execute people publicly. What do these things mean in the context of our city, and how it modernized from the way that we think and approach our lives within this rapidly expanding city in constant motion. And here you can see we have decided to occupy an area of this reclaimed land. It's an abandoned house on the corniche itself. This is the process of us understanding our city in a lot of various ways. Again, as I said, silicone is a fluid material that resonates with the fluidity of the ocean, and it's once we start spilling it, and it's really this gesture of spilling silicone onto any given surface. We've done various surfaces in various plots of land, curated, uncurated, fixed, unfixed, questioned, unquestioned, and we ultimately decided to use this reclaimed notion of land as a textural impression of our city. We decided to call this work City Skin as a part of Jeddah, and it's going to be displayed in C18 as part of the city's exhibition. So please come visit us there, and if you want to add anything.
I think the process of finding the location and finding the texture to extract has been a really interesting part of the process. It involved a lot of drive around and examination of the ground condition, and really help us become more aware of how different pavements and different materials that make up this ground condition constitute different types of interactions and social spaces.
It's almost, just to add, it's almost a literal approach towards above and below, to really look at the textures of our city. So I would encourage everyone to really look at the texture that we walk on as a further transformation of the city, and an explanation of why we occupy these spaces and how we occupy these spaces as well. Again, in this video, it'll pan out to show, to give you more of a human perspective. It shows you from where we stand on the reclaimed land, looking out onto the ocean. We hope this serves as an analytical piece and an archival piece of Jeddah, and we hope that you can come visit us soon. This is really something that we have been researching for quite a long time. And our video will end with a very slow-paced view of our installation in its location. And in Korea, it will be showing a piece of Jeddah in Turkey.